matchup on our hands. Hopefully, go to a match 5 series. But Restless Fight look up the part. Of course, it is going to be Trident Storm versus Restless Fight, and of course, to bring you the action is nothing has changed. It is still me and Geek, and honestly, very excited. Restless Fight definitely look to be here to take the spot away, and hopefully, Trident Storm can do a bit more today as well. They actually were able to almost take a map off of 2 Red Devils, but not
Mm.
quite enough. They got still 3-0.
Yeah, they still got 3-0, but yeah, Trident Storm not having exactly the start of the season that they would have hoped for because yeah, I think they finished second in the AOPL showdown if I recall correctly, so they qualified as C2 for this competition. If I check that out, yeah, they're C2, so they were
Hmm.
expected to be among some of the favorites in this competition. In fact, let's take a look at how everybody kind of stacked up just before the start of this AOPL season. So you can see Untick, Trident Storm, and Steak and Cheese were the top 3 seeds that came in after the AOPL showdown that happened in the middle of February, happened towards the end of February, beginning of March. And then Trident Esports, the first of the seeded teams that went through the proper seeding procedure, followed by 2 Red Devils, Restless, Black, and White in that order, Bakenut, Fried Equinox, and DXA Singapore. But yeah, Trident Storm maybe had a little bit more expectations on their shoulders, but unfortunately, they weren't really quite able to deliver them just yet. And they do need to get themselves back on proper footing to be able to actually challenge not only for playoff spots, but also trying to make deep playoff runs a little bit later on in the future as we're soon getting started with the picks and bans, Kriidy.
Yeah, indeed is as well. I already see in chat as well. Silk is one of the players today, or technically their sub. Already says discovered maps 2 hours ago. Trust. Well, all is going well for Trident Storm. I will say that Trident Storm definitely seem to be struggling from scheduling and not having their full lineup as well. It should be Neumad and Complex, the usual duo, and they are very rapid as well. But it seems they just weren't able to actually prepare for this tournament and are not able to give the 100% that they are known for, and they would definitely be one of my contenders for playoffs. But I feel like with the substitutions and going a bit in between with everything, it has really been a detriment for them. They are still, uh, props to them. Even with the current struggle, they're still gonna be trying, their best that they can give out there. But of course, it's gonna come falling a bit short compared to the teams who are properly prepared and gonna be giving all their might to get into those playoffs. But Trident Storm could still play a bit of a fiddle, can ruin some dreams then and there. But for the time being, with the pick and ban already underway on your screen, with Simplicity and 3-piece banned, and with Luminance picked to begin with as well. Well, that's going to be at least. Also, one thing I don't understand how the pick and bans work, because in my opinion, Restless White would be make sense to pick first because they are technically higher up in the zone. But I assume it's all based on the seeding even throughout the entire
Yep,
tournament. You
it
can
it
enlighten
is
me on
indeed
that, Geek.
It is indeed based on the seeding coming into the tournament itself before the start of
Okay.
day one. So that is why higher seed is going to Trident Storm, given their second place in the AOPL showdown. So Simplicity and 3Ps being banned, those are pretty much insta bans from both teams. We've seen that, of course, over the course of day
She
one.
though.
Luminance, Shias, Agartha, Waiting, and Candy Crush is going to be our map order. Luminance is going to be kind of interesting because in terms of median pace, we are seeing a net advantage of around 6/10 in favor of Trident Storm, 100.204 versus a 0.816 for Restless White. And Restless White also having recorded 2 DNFs over the course of the first day, having played on this map. So, yeah, it will be pretty interesting to see how that will go in terms of having a map that they don't really feel super comfortable with to try and start things up.
Yeah, it's an interesting case to be made for sure. I mean, the overall thing that I have to look out for at the moment is the fact that first of all, I will get to see Shias for the first
Yeah.
time as well on the port, and I get to actually see what's the problem there. Because when I was looking at the overall, like the videos and everything in the maps, Shias actually looked like a very nice map overall, but it seems it hasn't mellowed as well as it, at least on the surface. It is a very long track as well, but all the tracks are technically long. They're basically all 55, or at least a minute on average. So to sort of assume some less, some more. So I will get to actually see what the big fuss is about Shias as well. But we start off with Luminance to begin, and Restless Storm. At least my hope is they get one track on the board. They haven't been able to really do that quite well overall. It's been a bit of a struggle for them. So if they can get anything going, maybe on this track, it is one of their more favorites, and we've seen some interesting matchups. And Restless Fight also had a moments on this track against Starlight and Spider
Yeah.
from the previous match, which they did lose to them as well. So hey, anything's possible.
Anything is possible indeed, especially considering that, yeah, Complex is not in there. It's going to be Silk, of course, who has taken over the reins to assist Neumad in his task of actually playing versus Restless One as we get underway right here, right now. And already, first mistake coming in from Silk, having barely grazed the pole at checkpoint number 1, no less. So we're down to a 3-horse race between Careless Cobra, Neumad, and Kelva. Currently, Kelva, having dropped a little bit of speed in the grass road section, will be falling back down to 3rd, but also Neumad not having the best of exits from the platform part or the ground platform part, having taken a bit of a penalty in terms of the time that he has lost, about 2/10 down, and now he's going to be falling under prey from Kelva, who moves up into 2nd place, but not without having Neumad still snapping at his heels right now. It's going to be Cobra moving up into the lead and sprinting away from all that battle, saying, I'm not having any business with that. I am out of here. 4/10 of a second clear of his teammate doing battle with Neumad, heading into the final few corners of the round already. And great line from Neumad, moving up into 2nd ahead of Calva to bring at the very least 1 point for Trident Storm, but it will be the victory for Restless White with a 59.095 courtesy of Careless Cobra. Calva in 3rd, 2-1 for the red side.
Yeah, indeed as well, with Neumad being absolutely elated with a huge PB of 10,000ths of a second as well. And but yeah, we'll have to wait and see how things will go. It will be a tough uphill battle, and as was said as well, at least by Silk in the Twitch chat as well, he hasn't had much practice on the track as well, and you can already see an early touch at the start as well. So it is going to be a bit of a Neumad battle at the moment, and basically Silk has to just, get a run going, and you never know how the dice will roll. Careless Cobra could just combust and just absolutely, end up in the wall somewhere, as Kelva at the moment is doing exactly the same, but so does Silk. So it is basically a case to be made that Neumad sort of has to get 1st position in order to have Trident Storm with any sort of opportunity. But Careless Cobra is not really giving an inch or a mile and just flying off to the sunset, already almost half a second ahead. And that will be almost over half a second now behind, as Neumad is moving into 1st position. And this is exactly what Silk needs to do. He is 10 seconds behind. And this is your average 8 background. Chat, take it away. You know what to do. And Neumad will be in another PP, back-to-back PPs. Must be absolutely elated with himself. But it will be a draw, all things considered.
Yeah, absolutely ecstatic. PB, there we go. We've got it in the in-game chat. Yeah, that is a great round, ladies and gentlemen. 59.525 being driven by Neumad here on this kind of a zany round, it should be said, but yeah, plenty of damage being done at pretty much every sector. Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector 3, everything has got at least 1 kill count on this particular 2nd round, but here we go into the 3rd round now. Everybody making it through clean through the start. It's going to be Silk, just a little bit of disadvantage pace-wise, dropping down 2/10 behind the leading trio as we head into Sector number 2. Went a little bit too wide, and this will be clinching, hitting the wall with the left rear. In the meantime, Neumad having to concede 2nd place to Careless Cobra and Calvalsum, who are going to be sprinting away into the lead. Calva trying to make amends from the previous rounds where he has a little bit he had a little bit of a issue himself with the jump into the dirt, just like Silk had. In the meantime, we see Calva continue to hold on to 2nd place. Neumad trying to catch up to him ever so slightly, trying to make it an interesting round. You can see it's still within opportunity to strike for 2nd position. There it is, as the Careless Cobra went a little bit wider than he should have in the long left-hander, and a huge crash at the finish for Kelva, forced to respawn, and Silk is going to make it a victory for Trident Storm. 0.415 as well for Neumad, continuing to improve PB after PB after PB, but that is one unexpected outcome, it should be said. Kelva unfortunately messing up the alignment for that triangle finish, allowing Silk to move up into 3rd place and actually make the impact that was needed for Trident Storm to even the gap back out.
Yep, exactly, and this is why Neumad now goes from the heights, goes from 0 to 0 for this round. This is what I said in the previous as well. The reason why Trident Storm were seated as 2nd position, it shows as well, like Neumad has the pace, has the capability to put up a good fight, but if they had Complex and a full proper lineup, they could do a pretty good damage. But a lack of preparation always gets better of anybody. But for the time being, Silk has to pull it the thread, and
Oh,
with Kelva completely out of it, everything is possible. Fairy tales can be made, and at the moment it looks to be a fairy tale at least. Well, Trident Storm are brewing up a storm. At the moment at least, I say that Neumann hits the wall and all of that sentiment is gone into the bin. But for the time being, at least, it looks like Careless Cobra gets to the finish. Silk gets to the finish. Kelva also gets there. Neumann as well. Could have been a draw for Trident Storm, all things considered. But they have to at least give the Restless White the victory for now.
yeah, that round was a bit of a swing and a miss for Trident. Starting, of course, with that touch in the first corners from Neumann, followed by the unfortunate respawn at the start of Sector 3 for that very same player. Silk was pretty much there when he needed to. He tried to do as much of a good job as he can, and yeah, he actually managed to get a point off of Restless White to prevent an ace from going the way of the red team to make the gap a bit more unassailable. This time it will be Cobra having a very, very sketchy and very unfortunate landing at the third part, forcing himself to not respawn not once but twice and even more times. So it's going to be all down to Kelva to hold the fort for Restless White, trying to keep the lead to enforce a draw and prevent Trident from evening the scales, or maybe even worse, take the lead. And Neumann is going to make the job a lot easier by touching the CP with the top of his car at the very end of that line. Silky picks up the slack to move up into second position, but he touches the wall himself, and now we see the two Trident Storm players regroup together. Kelva should be able to have an easy run to the finish line, and as I say that, he completely messes up the finish. It will be an ace given to Trident Storm. No way that the APAC round has delivered this much, and it will be Trident in with map point opportunity number 1.
Trident Storm about to do history. They are going to take their first, I believe, on record track point possibility here. They are on the verge of greatness here. And what did I say? They're coming in with the sub. They have the lowest expectations possible. And they're now going to do a Restless White, another. Of course, with a Silk having a bit of a fumble there in the moment. Well, Neumann, only thing Neumann has to do now is to get first position, and they put a Restless White into the worst predicament possible, because if it ends up being a draw, it will be 9-7, which means Restless White have to ace in order to win this, and they have looked nowhere close to acing really in these rounds. And if Neumann can do it, I feel like if I have any faith in Neumann, I have it in now. Kelva trying to push as well, but really not. He doesn't look confident anymore. You can see the lines are not as effortless as usual. They're really trying to just get it clean through, hoping sort of on a mistake on Neumann here. And as soon as I say that, oh no, Careless Cobra is going to possibly overtake Neumann. No finish instance for Restless Fight here. Doesn't look to be, and they ace Trident Storm back again. It goes from a fairy tale to a nightmare, Geek. It looked so beautiful, and all of a sudden it isn't.
Yeah, it was kind of on shaky ground starting at the third and final sector with that unfortunate slowdown for Neumann, which also kind of basically put him a bit of an offset to the line that he was supposed to take, and thus kind of prompted that huge drop in pace in the final few corners just before the finish line, allowing Cobra and Kelva to move up into the lead. And now this is going to be very, very interesting. Silk still in pretty much unscathed, even though he's dropping quite far out of the leaderboard right now. Kelva having taken a bit of airtime, allowing Neumann to move up into second place, but he needs a bit more than that. He needs a mistake from the leader currently, Careless Cobra, to try and make it a bit more interesting for Trident Storm at the moment. But right now, Careless Cobra is not having any of these. He's like, nah, we've suffered enough for a victory. We're just going to close that one out. Please, thank you, just let us take the first map, and we're going to get this done with as soon as possible. In the meantime, Careless Cobra still leading by about 3/10. Kelva continuing to be within the coattails of Neumann's car. Neumann again a little bit slow through that long left-hander, maybe allowing Kelva to snipe him at the ending. No, it will be a 59.332 for Careless Cobra. Kelva in third. It will be a victory for Restless White, 11-9. But my goodness, was there a lot of hoops to jump through for the red side. And yeah, plenty of average APAC rounds, as people would say, that was given up by this map. But my goodness, Trident Storm, they tried their best to salvage something out of this, but yeah, was this close?
Yeah, I mean, this is what substitutions, make it happen. It's basically, when you have one of those moments, you it sort of takes off the pressure. You don't really expect much. You're just going in there, you just give it all your all and see what sticks. Basically, and it almost stuck, but not quite. And now I get to see Shiaz as well, and now I'm gonna see what the fuss is all about. Apparently, with all of the bans and everything, people having a moment of glory here as well. And what if you had to sort of summarize Shiaz, what the reason why it is not as preferred? Like, what is your opinion, or what is the sentiment in regards to track? What usually gets people fumbled here? Is it like tight
Well,
corners, a lot of
there
transitions,
is
or is it just so many
th-
little things here where you
there
can just
is
clip and die?
it's a combination of tiny details and also a lot of tight corners. Starting off with the start already, 180 right, followed by almost a 180 left already. You see Silk and Neumann having trouble of their own, and you can see how the line is really, really precise. You can't really afford to have any margin of error here through that start, through sector number 1, through checkpoint number 1 here. And then after that, there was, of course, another sector that I wanted to point out, the plastic sector that we briefly seen. So checkpoint 4, you get a pretty standard drift turn, that's all right, but then you get into this part right here. This is the real stinker. Watch this, triangle line, and then you have to keep it all the way tight. You can see even Kelva is having trouble with this. So this is one of the main and one of the many reasons why you tend to not see Shias being played that much. And yeah, it's just tricky section after tricky section after tricky section. It's just pure concentrated hell following that particular drop down into the quarter pipe, where you also need to hook the ring for better exit, and then the grass road. Luckily, the last few checkpoint blocks and the last few blocks are a bit more sedate with that wide black platform that you can actually run on through. Careless Cobra takes the win with a 101.545. Kelva 1.8 seconds down. A lot of damage on that round with Silk yet to cross the finish line, but you just had a little bit of an example as to why you don't see Shias that often. It's just that much of a hell to go through.
Hey, all I'm saying again, what is the problem on the plastic section? There's a triangle checkpoint. Again, I emphasize this. Triangle checkpoints, get rid of them. They should be banned from organizing everything. They should just put a gate there. People have more room to turn. It won't be as tight, and people are gonna be a lot happier. GG done.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go into every mapping community of every competition, and as soon as there is a checkpoint that has a triangle, immediate removal of the map, immediate denial. Fix it or you won't be accepted. But in all things considered, my rant of triangle finishes, mostly because I'm a Cam 2 player, all things considered, but everybody's gonna have struggle with it because it just limits the line so much and it's very easy to flip. But for the time being, Careless Cobra and Kelva, it is their map pick. So, if you're gonna take Poison, you might as well take Shias, because if nobody likes to drive it, at the end it equalizes out. If nobody likes to drive it, then it's all fine and dandy. Everybody is gonna have a misery here, and as long as you win, at least that is gonna be the positive side of driving Shias. And for the time being, Restless Flight are gonna make a quick job of this, as Kelva cannot even finish apparently. What in the hell are you doing, Kelva? You don't need to go for the world record. You're not on pace, just finish the track. But he gets last position, giving Trident Storm their points on the board.
And
what a hectic map indeed.
Yeah, that is an ace that is going in the bin. That is very unfortunate. But yeah, just I guess this is kind of like the proper time to have like incensed rants about how why maps are not being played at all. Because for me, like as I said, it's hell incarnate. Not just because of the plastic part with the triangle line. The triangle line is just one component. You see that the turn is exceedingly tight. You have to keep such a low line afterwards, which is super difficult to do. And then afterwards, of course, the grass jump into the quarter pipe. Unfortunately, a bit of a touch from Kelva. That is going to be relegating him down to 3rd and 4th place, as Neumann and Cell take 2nd and 3rd place. Let's go from the perspective of from Neumann, shall we? Just trying to follow along Careless Cobra, as we are going to be heading into that grass part up next. And you can see the drop down. We've seen it already 2 rounds in a row. You can see here, you have to have a pretty specific line. Otherwise, you just end up with a bounce at the landing, and then yeah, it's just completely Jover at this point to the final sector. Neumann having a bit of a bump. Kelva coming back out of left field to move up into 2nd place. Goes a little bit too tight though, so it allows Neumann to prevent an ace from going the way of Restless One with a 59.578, courtesy of Careless Cobra being driven. Kelva in 3rd place. It will be a score of 6-2 for Restless White.
Yeah, that is indeed true. I mean, it is something that I'm already seeing quite a bit as well, is the fact that the track very much limits the line that you have to take. This is
Mm,
something that has been coming up in competitions as well. It has improved quite a bit as well, but we had a phase where basically maps were built in a way where you had scenery everywhere.
so,
You had only
yeah?
one line to go for. If you
Okay,
deviated
thanks.
by a pixel off of it, instant death. And I feel like this track sort of has some element to it as well, especially some segments where you can just see there's just nothing really to go by. You cannot really deviate from what you're supposed to drive from, and that's all very difficult, especially here. Why is that pole there? Doesn't need to be. These lights, get rid of them. This checkpoint, get rid of it. Those poles, okay, they are fine as long as the checkpoint is fixed. Those poles on the outside, don't need them. There's all of this clutter and everywhere. It's just get rid of it. It improves the map a lot more. You can see a lot better, and you don't have to worry about a pole every 5 seconds. But for the time being, again, that pole there, get rid of it as well. All of these things, just make it a lot more easier, a lot more drivable, and you already improved the map tenfold. But for the time being, the only thing that is improving is most likely the possibility that Neumann might be going for first position here, and he does indeed get the first position, gets a draw for Trident Storm, and it will be 3-7 on the board. And all the things are looking at least Restless White way. They only need an ace to get the track point, which is going to be expected, I think, the outcome here. But we are really dragging this track out a bit.
That rant is brought to you by the Trackmania Architects Association, always vying for the better visibility of maps for all players in the competitive space. Anyway, yeah, that was a bit of an unfortunate slowdown there from the leading Restless White member. I think it was Calva who had a bit of an unfortunate slowdown, allowing Trident to salvage a victory from that and allow themselves to not drop too many points. But still, Restless White having an opportunity to score their second map in a row with an ace if they can get that. Unfortunately for Kelescope, went a bit too tight. Neumann, though, takes the last pull, the very last pull at the end of the plastic part to allow Careless Cobra to move up into second position once again and have a pretty sizable gap as well, about 1 second of a gap. But Careless Cobra has a huge slowdown as soon as I mention it, and already we're getting back into a situation where Restless White can get denied that particular ace as Neumann takes the lead ahead of Careless Cobra, and Kelva also had troubles of his own, so we're down potentially to a draw situation. No, it will not be the case with a huge flip from Neumann, allowing Cobra to move into the lead, but Kelva also having a huge slowdown of himself. It will be a victory for Restless White. They're not done just yet with this map. They need at least one more round with just a second individual place, and it looks as though there might be a technical pause being requested as Kelva is having a little bit of a plea for help. I wonder if we're going to be able to get that pause. 9-4 for Restless Whites. Yes, indeed, we're going to get a technical pause on the request of Restless Whites.
Kelva requesting a pause real quick so we have a bit of time to get back into the groove. My rants aside, and of course, I know, no, nothing. Of course, the maps themselves are a beautiful masterpiece. Of course, I could never build something quite well, but I do enjoy building myself as well, and hopefully, maybe if there's another Baltic competition, I will try to map something a lot more convenient. For it as well. But overall, I will say, like, Trident Storm, given everything that is going on, Neumann is trying its best, Silk even getting some points on the board. Restless White, I mean, coming off the win against DXA Singapore, they seem to be, taking it easy, I feel like. You can definitely, of course, she is maybe not the map that they are not really enjoying the most, but overall, looks at least somewhat decent. They just need to get the 1 point on the board, and I think they know they can win this. But they are just making it a bit more complicated than it should be.
Okay. We're getting the reason for we're getting the reason for the actual. It's not exactly technical. It's more technical to do with the human body more than computers. It must be said. I think Cobra popped it in the chat. The way he popped it in was such a Kimi Raikkonen moment. Grid walk for those of you who haven't seen. I'm pretty sure most of you have already seen the clip if you're a motorsport fan, but if you haven't, just look Martin Brundle, Kimi Raikkonen grid walk. It's probably one of my favorite pieces of like Kimi Raikkonen classic interview moments. But
Short
yeah, just
and sweet.
Yeah, just short and sweet, just really concise and straight to the point. It's pretty much a no frills answer. But yeah, for those of you who are just joining in, first of all, welcome wherever you are in the world and at whatever time you're actually watching. For us over in the European climes, it is yeah, the sun is already pretty much bright and sunny. It is 9 a.m. on my time. It should be 10 a.m. your time, I think, Kriidy, if my time zones are correct.
Yeah, it is indeed true. None of the sun though. It is quite cloudy
Oh,
here, so yeah, not really
yeah, I
pleasant
guess.
morning. But it is indeed 10 a.m. But
Yeah, I
you
guess
know,
I
we
got
are.
lucky. I guess I got lucky with the skies where I am, where it's actually pretty
Oh.
not overcast, but yeah, it's pretty clear. There's just like maybe a few clouds just passing by, but not too much.
Yeah, it is. At least it's nice. But overall, at least for the time being, I'm gonna go bit of behind the scenes. I'm gonna get myself going because if with this in mind, of course, we have a bit of time to actually take a look because I know that we have a very fancy master sheet of all things. I know, a very fancy name for it. But I can maybe take a look at what the other matches are going on and if the scores are updated as well. So let's take a look at round five. We currently see that Steak and Cheese are leading 2-0 against DXA Singapore. We see that the other match scores have not really. Oh, but Trident Sports has taken a 12-7 against Antic on their first map. So we'll have to wait and see. And we are currently waiting on the other matches. But the other match scores, they have not yet been updated. So for the time being, at least we know some updates in that regard. So we will get back to that. Will we get to any other matches? We'll have to wait and see. It all depends on how quick nature is calling for Kelva, basically, and how quickly they
Yeah.
get the business done for the time being. But for now, at least, I mean, they only need one more round. I don't think Trident Storm are gonna get the ace. It is a 4-9 score, but they just need one more round and get it done with. I can't quite remember what was the third map. If you can enlighten my memory. If not, well, that's I guess.
I think I forgot already. To be completely honest with you, well, we've had. I think it should be a Gartha for. No, we play.
Oh yeah,
We had the minutes for. I think
I
it's a
think it
Gartha
is
third,
Agartha.
then
Yeah.
waiting, then Candy Crush. I think it is.
Hmm.
We have to wait to see whether we're talking out of our ass or whether it's I actually got the order right because yeah, I'm trying to go from memory here and memory sometimes doesn't go too well. So yeah. Yeah, Agartha should be. Agartha is next. Okay, we got confirmation from Neumann himself.
Going to be interesting as well. But yeah, for the time being, at least a chat and chat and everybody. How are you doing? How is your weekend started off? For us, for Europeans, it was a once in a blue moon early wake up for Formula One. At least for me and Geek. Well, as much as some of us got to experience it, as Geek
Yeah,
had a bit of a rant for F1
there's
TV on Android.
well
Uh,
the thing. Yeah, yeah. The thing is, F1 TV works great on PC. Like it works just
yeah,
works. It just works whenever you're on PC or even if on Android and Chromecast, it works fine. Try to watch it on Android on the device though. Pure duck water. It just is super choppy. It ends up buffering every single time. I have to cycle between international feed and the live feed in the F1 live feed to be able to actually get anything. Plus, it didn't help that I was kind of like on low hours of sleep, so I was kind of falling asleep every time the sound would cut out. So I was like, shit, I missed 5 minutes of quality just like this. But yeah, it is rough. It is a bit rough. The At least the race tomorrow, I don't have to rely on F1 TV because the I do have the channel that broadcasted in France, so I know that their app works better than F1 TV. So it does work well for like replays and stuff like that, but for live stuff, nah, really no.
Yep, that is indeed as well. I have my own a website as well where I do watch it. That works very well as well, and of course, early wake up as well, and for also in a bit of a meantime as well. Maybe people don't know. We can put a bit of a lore as well. Technically, today it was actually Turbo. Was supposed to be the one casting, but he didn't really feel well today, and I was in. Fortunately enough, of course, with F1, I was awake in order to come in today. But hopefully Turbo will be there for tomorrow. We would love to see him cast as well. So hopefully good wishes to Turbo as well to get well. I wasn't really feeling it in the morning. Maybe didn't have a good night's sleep and as well as far as I remember.
Yeah.
So hopefully he will be in the booth with you, Geek, tomorrow. But for the time being, we have to wait on Kelva. Also, fun fact: it is 10 minutes for the timer as well. So at some point, if Kelba doesn't quite arrive, I don't know. It must be some very big hold for him. It seems some business has been held on for a very long time. So hopefully he actually makes
Yeah.
on time here as well. But yeah, but hopefully, yeah, as for Turbo, hopefully he gets well and we'll be here tomorrow. All things considered, so a bit of lore for you people watching as well. So for the time being, at least, we'll have to wait and see. But all thing is good. Uh, Overall, I got nothing else to say. We are really running out of topics. We got covered F1. We're waiting on Kelva. He still, at least he
Okay,
seems to
apparently.
be back. Oh, he seems to be back, and we have
Yeah,
confirmation. He
he's
did wash
yeah.
his
It
hands
seems
as
as
well.
though
It's all good in the
seems
hood.
as though he's ready. Unpausing in 15 seconds, so we're gonna get restarted, of course, with what is looks set to be the final round here on this map. That is Shia's 9-4. A quick reminder of the score in favor of Restless White, Careless Cobra, and Calvalsum, with Trident again a little bit on the back foot and having more their backs against the wall than ever now, compared to what we saw on Luminance, where they were able to salvage a few rounds and maybe even get an ace out of nowhere, out of left field, to make it a little bit more interesting. But this time, with Silk having his issues at the start, it's not going to happen. And even with Neumann having a bit of airtime at the transition at the top of the grass hill there.
Yeah, it's looking to be one of those moments where we expect a result, but we are anticipating to see what will come of it as well. As Shias has produced some interesting rounds, but it seems at least with a bit of weight reduction, at least Kelwa seems to be a bit faster even in this round as well. Already a bit ahead, so maybe helps a bit with the speed as well. Feel a bit more comfortable as well going into the matches. Maybe that was holding him back, throughout the day. At least for this match. It looks to be absolutely well. I say that has a bit of a clip, but with Neumann and Silk not really being in the picture as well, they're completely out of it. It is Restless White to take the ace on the board here, and with no real surprises here, Careless Cobra comes in as well, and they almost get across the line, hand in hand, and that is the ace on the board with 4-12 being the score. So we will move on to the next match as soon as Silk finishes and as soon as we switch maps as well. So, expected results, and we'll see if Agartha has anything else to bring us, or it will be a 3-0 affair.
All right. Well, yeah, Agartha up next, and yeah, Neumann bringing up the point. Yeah, he did weight reduction. He gained 4/10 out of the blue. Not cheating. Now, of course, you guys know the deal. Whenever he gets stuff like this, but yeah, we hope that Kelva feels better. He apparently said not entirely, but apparently good enough to play. So I guess there's that going for him. But we do hope that he's able to get everything sorted on his end. And that he feels better soon. That's the main thing. I mean, already being a trooper for pushing through to play like this before having to call in for a break, saying, "Yeah, I need to get down to business." But yeah, going on to Agartha. This is going to be one interesting one. Do you have any particular juicy stats that we need to look at between those two teams? Maybe Kriidy, to get ourselves stuck in.
I mean, overall, I mean, the thing is, it's very hard to take the times because it is not complex playing for the time being. But if we take
That's
like
true.
the average of all of the players, as Kelva absolutely just hits the wall and completely dies, and gives a possibility for Trident Storm to get some valuable points from this track. I mean, overall, if we look at Agartha, on paper at least, if we take into account all the players, the average is, definitely in Restless White's ballpark on Agartha, and that's. But if we take a look at the overall average of two players, then it sort of evens out. But we have to keep in mind that Silk is playing, so it is again a track that Restless White should be able to take. But Agartha is such a cruel mistress. I mean, I've said this before already. This track really gets decided in the first 30 seconds, and after that, there isn't much you can really gain. They removed one part of this track already. The plastic wall right there. After that, you have a gate checkpoint. The older version had the ground checkpoint, so you could easily clip that checkpoint. So it was changed and altered from the Baltic version. We had to go around, and it was so many times where you could get a pixel clip from the checkpoint black part. But with the gate, you can go a lot more inside, and it's a lot more safer, and it's like a tenth or two faster compared to the
Yeah,
older version as
do you
well.
mean like the
As
do you mean like the actual checkpoint arch or like the pillar that comes
actual
before it?
checkpoint was the ground
Oh,
checkpoint
okay.
with the black parts. So you had to go wider, you had to go around the black part there in order to actually make the turn. But here you can just go full inside because you have a gate checkpoint there. You don't even have to worry about it. So the wall ride is
Yeah, I see.
significantly more easier in that regards. But for the time being, at least, Restless White, up in front, chasing down Neumann, and looking to be a lot greater. But this ice, of course, you have to get the line down. I would recommend for players to you slightly overturn so you can get a lot better exit out of it to begin with. But these players that played this track, they should know. But at least this is the only track where I can actually give some insight as well. And you can come to this section, you can see wall right, and this is a gate checkpoint.
Oh
This
yeah,
was a
now
normal checkpoint
I
usually,
can
and
totally see how it is.
yeah. So
In
that
the
was the
meantime, yeah,
Trackmania.
yeah. So sorry to kind of cut you off. We were trying to guess the round, but yeah, unfortunately we kind of got sidetracked. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to point out the differences in between the versions and maps that are used in different competitions. In the meantime, Kelva having a bit of a sluggish ending to his round, but still having enough of a gap to manage to come into second place. Careless Cobra in first, so it will be an ace going the way of Restless White, going past the halfway point of this map already after 2 rounds elapsed here on Agartha. And Neumann and Silk, well, Silk is having a really uphill battle, so yeah, it's not exactly fair to compare the performances of Silk to somebody a bit more prepared like Cobra or maybe even his teammate Neumann. But yeah, he's trying his gosh darn best, and I think we can still commend the fact that he is there to try and play and try to make as much of an impact as he possibly can. Although, yeah, the pace efficiency is definitely rearing its ugly head, as you can see already through the start. About a second conceded over the course of just the first 2 checkpoints, heading into the ice slide. Just a slight overturn on the part of Calva, getting a good exit. Same for Neumann. Careless Cobra opts to go for a little bit of a wider exit line, though, to carry a little bit more speed through the checkpoint before the slight return of slide to get the grip back. Currently, Cobra leading by about a tenth and a half ahead of Neumann. Calva sitting in third, and Neumann doesn't get the good plastic wall ride, so that will allow Calva to move up into second place once again. Heading into the third and final sector, good landing on the grass road on the part of Cobra. Calva leading Neumann in second place by about 4/10 of a second, and it will be yet another ace getting clinched by Restless White. 2 back-to-back aces with 102.068 driven by Cobra, 1.1 second clear of Calva himself, 4/10 clear of Neumann. 8-1 match points on the cards for Restless White, who only need first and third to get their 3-0 win.
Yeah, it's looking likely to be the affair that was expected as well, at least on paper, as Silk goes a bit wide and hits the corner already there. Now Restless White only need a victory minimum. Well, Neumann can delay it a bit as well, of course, if he gets first position here. But he does need to, and that is not the line you want to take there. You really want to enter sort of the apex of an apex of the third turn there. It's not as easy as to see, but there is a little bit of a kink there where you want to get into, and it will slot you very nicely into the third section, as Kelva is making a bit of a fumble out of that third section after the ice part. That allows Neumann to go into second position, but this is more than enough for Restless White. If now no ifs and buts happen here, this should be the round that Restless White take. Carlos Copa gets the jump here as well, and if he knows the splits, he doesn't really need to do much heroics into the final few turns, so this should be however it's done. Carlos Copa gets the finish here, gets first position, Neumann comes in second, and Kelva secures the track and match point for Restless White. Trident Storm, and with a wicked flip for Silk to end it off as well. A very admirable job by him as well, with a very short practice as well. Gets the job done. 3-0 on the board, and we'll have to wait and see what else it brings for Restless White for today. 2 wins today, so very good for them.
Yeah, very good day for them so far. And yeah, I'm totally agree on Selk. We've already pointed that out time and time again. But that is a very commendable job that he was able to pull off to try and get some impact in some important rounds where it almost paid off on map 1 on Luminance. We almost saw a map being taken away from Restless White. Unfortunately, it came out to this much luck that was maybe missing on the side of Trident Storm, so it did not pan out that way. But yeah, we've seen some pretty interesting rounds on map 1, map 2, and map 3 were a little bit more as expected, maybe, if we saw the Restless Swipe, plus the fact that Trident Storm were a little bit in limp mode as to were in that regard. But in the meantime, I think we should head straight into our next our matchup
Match
that is going to be
numero
next featured.
4.
Match number 4, which is
Indeed.
going to be Trident versus Antic, and we're on a 2-1 game series, actually. Okay, we're heading on to Candy Crush.
Yeah, Candy Crush is already, first round was already underway with an ace for Trident Esports, and with Baywack having a bit of a fumble to begin with, it puts now Antic in a position where they would love to overtake Jaceback. I mean, Trident Esports, in my opinion, at least overall with the talent that they have, Trident Esports, in my opinion, is the best team in Asian Oceania. They are just absolutely the pacemakers as well. They have consistency, they have the speed as well, and not many teams can really put up a fight. Antic are trying their best here, but Kuda has fallen a fair bit back as well. Bayback cannot take advantage of it. And with that in mind, well, Spark gets a PB, but that is not even close to what J-Swag is driving. So Trident Esports, in my opinion, are what the Asian Oceania can drive towards. They have pace, they have consistency, and they are a hell of a team to come up against when they are on their A game. J-Swag and Bayback are absolutely a joy to watch, and Antic Esports, they are very close contenders, but you can see the difference already, and hopefully Antic can do a bit more here because they need to, otherwise it's going to be a 3-1 affair, and Trident Esports are taking down a very big giant in their road to getting a full clean sweep of the entire tournament.
Yeah, this is very much a case of having a lot more going for you in terms of pace. Just taking a look at the PBs, for instance, from Spark, who drove a PB last round at 57.0, whereas Baywack and J-Swag are driving 0.5s and 0.4s in terms of PB. So yeah, this is looking to be an uphill battle, battling with pace-wise. And of course, yeah, I think I've already said that maybe in my native language when we were casting the World Championship, as unfortunately for J-Swag, he went a little bit wide. Same for Baywack, actually. Did not get the proper lineup for the last corner on the plastic, gifting the ace to Antic Esports as a result of this. Kuda driving a new personal best as well by 6 milliseconds at 0.138, so it will be a counter ace to kind of counteract the balance that Trident had going in their favor with the ace taken on the first round. So even scores due to, I guess, unforced errors from both Baywack and J-Swag. But of course, I was kind of like waxing lyrical about them when they made the mistake, of course, because we're casters, that's what we do. But yeah, these guys have been on a really great ascending curve over the course of the last few months. Of course, taking victories in the regionals in stage 2 before taking part in the actual Trackmania World Championship in the middle stage, being the very first APAC team to be able to reach that stage of the competition, which is already a milestone in and of itself, but also a drive of motivation for not only these guys, but for everybody else in the scene, really.
Yeah, exactly, and you can see as well, it seems that they are going to be trading blows on Candy Crush as well, with J-Swag and Bayback now taking a quick note of the previous round and definitely a quick cleanup of what happened before, and you can see the paces of Bayback having a bit of a time there, but both drivers sub 57 there, and there's a reason why their average compared to Spark and Kuda is almost half a second faster on this track. They have the pace and they can really do it with Spark and Kuda. Both of their PBs are not sub 57, and J-Swag and Bayback are just like, you know, casual times, but it does lend itself to more risk as Bayback already has a bit of a clip or a touch at the start and leaves J-Swag up in front.
All right, J-Swag are here to try and pick up the slack, as it were, to try and enforce a draw and prevent Antic from getting any chance to actually score an ace out of thin air to try and even the scales once again, because really Antic are coming in this as the outsider, and if they can take this to a Game 5 series, that's already kind of a W in their books, I would say, compared to something like Trident. But unfortunately, as I say that, Kuda, who was right within Spark, reach of Spark, unfortunately briefly grazes the wall with the left rear in the dirt and will be relegated permanently to 3rd place. Spark also will not be able to do anything about J-Swag in the lead, who will be guaranteeing the draw will be going the way of Trident, and actually even a victory, as Kuda has another mishap of his own and allows Baywack to move up into 3rd. Oh no, Baywack's stuck. Oh no. Please, I beg you, we're dead!
3-point turn. There you go. A bit of a a comical moment. It reminds me
Oh,
if you know the Austin Powers moment. If you know
yeah.
the
Oh,
movie
I'm
where
stuck.
he tries to go back
Or
and forth,
for those
back
of you,
and
for those
forth.
of you, for those of you wanting a classic Counter Strike meme. Oh, I'm stuck through the checkpoint, man. Can't make it. Can't make it. Car stuck, please. I beg you. Where the hell is it?
Oh god, what a great moment. I mean, those are the humorous moments you love to see. Bayback, he knew he didn't really have, even if he respawned, he would have been fourth. So he was, he kept to the plot, stuck with it, was like, I'm gonna get to this finish. I got there, so I'm just gonna try my best to get it. Took a few seconds, but he got it done. But it does still not look good for Antic, even with that bit of a fumble by way Bayback. Antic need an ace. Even with victories, they're not going to catch up to Trident Esports. And with J-Swag and Bayback really showing their pace here, Spark and Kuda have to kind of rely on those mistakes. And with Kuda being completely out of it, that is what she wrote. Spark drives a PB, he drives a sub 57. But that's not enough. Trident Esports take the win 3-1 on the board, and they go to be the sole leader of the tournament with now 5 wins in a row. And they look absolutely unstoppable. And some good close rounds, at least compared to J-Swag's comments there, but not enough for Antic Esports to take it.
Yeah, it looks as though there was a little bit trying to bite off a bit more than they could chew in that case for the blue side, where they have to be content by taking their first L of the season. But remember, we're only just past the halfway mark of the group stage. There's still 4 matches left to go overall before we get to know what the top 6 qualify for the playoffs will be and in which place they will be actually locked in for the actual playoff bracket. We won't get to show that to you today because it's still a little bit early days, We just have to wait until tomorrow to work up to it and to actually know the pecking order. But yeah, that's round 5 pretty much done for us and in the books. Next up will be the last round of the day, and the featured match will be the 2 Red Devils, Min and Chung versus DXA Singapore, Spider and Starlight. Might be a little bit one-sided, but you never know. Anything can happen in Trackmania, and it usually does, as I say. But before we head into that, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back for the last match of the day. Stay with us.